Hello and welcome. I am Raziel, and so do you know what? I really, really like the Judge Dredd game. It's probably one of my favorite games right now, and it's so good and so identical to the comic as how it plays. Judge Dredd's absolutely OP. Judge Death can only be killed by certain ways. It's great, and the models look like they come out the comic book, which is great for, they don't have to be fantastic looking because of the comic book style that they're being based on. You're not looking at too much detail there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I quite like it, unless you're looking at the Simon Bisley work, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you ever want to see something fantastic, Google Simon Bisley, Bisley, Joker. That is one of the best pictures of a Joker I've ever seen. It's fantastic. But yeah, so Judge Dredd, the game, is very, very good and very, very close to the comic counterpart. And Judge Dredd also has video games as well. Judge Dredd versus Death is a fantastic game. If you ever played it on the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and the Xbox, original Xbox. It was a fun game, it was interesting. And so, when I do play this, I always think about what other games would be good for, tabletop. Skirmish, big battle games, stuff like that. And one thing I've noticed, video games would be better into the skirmish category, basing it off the multiplayer, like Halo Flashpoint. Halo Flashpoint is a fun game. It's fantastic. It's fun. You should play it. And you're only playing as Spartans, and it's based on the multiplayer. You can pick up weapons, etc. Pick up bonuses and everything else that's in the multiplayer. Well, in the team multiplayer, not the big team multiplayer. And so that's really cool and really interesting that they went that route with this IP, basing it on the multiplayer rather than the actual story. And I think it's a good thing. Now, the thing about Halo is you've basically got two sides. You've got the Covenant versus the humans and the Spartans, and that's it. Yeah, there's like the Forerunners and probably something else that happens in Halo Guardians or something. It's such a bad game. Anyway, so basing on the multiplayer was fantastic, and I think this could work with other games too. Like Mantic, listen to this, you'll like this, Mantic. This is great. Gears of War. See, it would be exactly like Halo Flashpoint. It would be a skirmish game between two armies, but you'd have two different factions. You'd have the Cogs versus the Locust, and I think that would be really cool to see because you'd actually have two factions this time, and you wouldn't have to collect two armies. You just have you can have one of each if you want. Unlike Lord of the Rings back in the day where you'd have to have two armies, a good side and an evil side. And that's always something that kind of annoyed me about that game because I don't want to collect two armies for one game. I want to collect one army for multiple games because I'm cheap. But I think that's a really cool way of doing it. And Gears of War would be fantastic. And Mantic would be the best way of that one because, one, they know how to use video game IPs into the tabletop. Worms is a brilliant game. Walking Dead is... Okay, that's not a video game, so we'll ignore that one. Halo is amazing, and Assassin's Creed might be actually pretty good. And because I'm talking about Mantic, I'm going to judge by the quality of games that I've played so far. I'm going to say Assassin's Creed might actually be a lot of fun and probably worth purchasing. So I could see them doing Gears of War in the sort of same vein as Halo Flashpoint, which would be fantastic. I think it'd be great. Very few video games actually would be able to fit the big game, the big battle games like 40k, Conquest, and Kings of War, or Firefight. Mainly because most games have good guys, bad guys. That's it. There's no real in between. And so basically two factions. I said already that with Halo and Gears of War, that's two main ones. But like Mass Effect, you literally just got anyone who gets in Shepard's way and the Reapers, which would also be the Geth, So you got the Geth with the Reapers, and you got Shepard and the Normandy with everyone else, basically. And so again, that would be a good skirmish game. It would be based on running small missions throughout an area, achieving objectives, etc., and then going on to, whoever wins. And I think Mass Effect would be pretty good to do it that way, but as a big battle game, not so much. Fallout I'm looking into because it's a skirmish game again, and I think again that would be a lot of fun to play. I'm going to get Fallout. I'm a big Fallout fan. And the other thing about these IPs becoming going from video games to tabletop games, board games, etc., is that it brings in a somewhat untapped audience. That is people who play video games and never really tried war games, especially those who are massive, massive fans of said IP, of an IP, such as Fallout. Now, Fallout, I think it looks. I'm a really big fan of Fallout. I played 1, 2, 3, New Vegas, and 4. I have played 76, though, to be honest with you, I don't really play it. I just wander around looking at everything. I just love exploring open world games. I think they're fantastic. And so, then, you got these Fallout fans who love Fallout. They collect everything with Fallout. They get the war game, they get the tabletop game, and then they start playing other tabletop games because they get into the wargaming community, and people suggest other games. They suggest like, oh, you like this sort of alternate timeline skirmish game? Why don't you try Wild West Exodus? And when anyone mentions any sort of thing, I go, why don't you try Wild West Exodus? Just give it a go. It's fantastic. And same with Skyrim, because you're bringing this audience that's already a massive fan of one thing into another hobby. You're bringing them over, and most wargaming communities, almost all of them, are fantastic, chill guys. You talk about the hobby, we're chill as hell. Like, yeah, dude, talk about the hobby. It's great, right? We'll talk about that, and then not only do you get these communities that are just talking about this particular war game or tabletop game. You also can talk about the actual IP as well. You can get into conversations about Fallout. You can get into conversations about Skyrim. And you get these really big, passionate people who love the lore. They love the models. And then they love the games. And they go on, they love the models because of how they look. And it all works well. And I think it's one of the most untapped markets for tabletop games. And it's a shame, we really don't see that many. And I think most of it's probably to do with money. Fallout's a massive, massive IP. It's worth $1 billion right now, or probably more. I know they spent a lot of money on it. Same with the Elder Scrolls. I mean, when the Skyrim one came out, I was kind of disenfranchised because I like Skyrim. Don't get me wrong, Skyrim is an amazing game, but Skyrim's just part of the Elder Scrolls series. I'd rather see, all of the Elder Scrolls in this story, because though you would maintain the same races, there would be different characters and different models for different things, for different eras. Such as if you're doing an Oblivion you're doing an Oblivion storyline, or through battles, you would have a lot more Daedra. As with Skyrim, it's dragons, and with Morrowind, it's horrible controls and remembering what's what and just crying ferociously. As for you just die again because you keep missing and you never put anything in hand to hand. And you put everything into acrobats because you're a fool. Anyway, fun fact, I believe if you go to GOG and you buy Call of Cthulhu, you can still get the original Elder Scrolls Dagger Arena free. Side point. Anyway, but like I said, it brings a lot more people into the hobby, and I think a lot more companies need to kind of expand on this. I mean, I would love to see Mantic do a Gears of War game. I think they would do it really well. I think they would run it like they did with Halo, but run it more on a team multiplayer rather than a single player multiplayer. And anyway, thank you very much. What's your thoughts? What IPs would you like to see come to the tabletop? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day. I'm sorry my phone's going off. I'm really busy at the moment with work, so I do apologise for that. Have a lovely, lovely day. And of course, if you want to save money on your wargaming, go check Wayland Games down below, as always. And you get up to 20% off, free delivery after £20, and with their points, there's an extra 1% off. And yeah, it's basically 1% off. You spend £100, you get I think you spend £1, you get a point. Yeah, if you spend £1, you get a point. I think. Yeah, anyway. Yes, it is. And when you get 100 points, you get £1 off. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. And you got Forbidden Planet for comics, DVDs, mangas, all that cool geeky stuff. There's my comics and my merchandise down below. If you want to see Little Red Riding Hood go absolutely ham on some Lovecraftian cyborg werewolves, all my own work, all me, no one else. There is Skyforge, don't forget Skyforge, a good friend of mine, and finally Patreon because business. Bye-bye.